Hello, guys, and welcome to the inaugural first episode of This Week in Hollywood live on the Robo Reviews channel. I love that all of you guys are tuning in and appreciate all the support I'm getting. However, unlike my reviews, I'm not going to be alone on this one. You will not be hearing my voice the whole time. I have Eli Ward, a great friend and up-and-coming movie enjoyer with me today. Eli, if you want to say hi to the people.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for having me, rather. I'm excited.
No problem. Thank you for joining me. So this is obviously, if you've seen my channel, I only have one movie review now, but I like to do this short kind of movie reviews and then these longer podcasts to really talk about my biggest passion right now, which is just movies in general. Luckily, Eli has decided to join me, and hopefully we can get some more people in following episodes to join us. But this hopefully will be a weekly occurrence. So if you enjoy what you're seeing, feel free to leave some comments for us to maybe discuss in the next episode, and subscribe to the channel so that you're in the loop. Let's get into our first episode. So first thing we're going to talk about here is going to be some current movies that we either have seen or plan on seeing. And why don't we go ahead with Eli? Why don't you give us our first movie that we're going to be talking about? And is it going to be one that you've seen or plan on seeing?
We'll go with one I just watched, and that would be Prisoners. And shocked I hadn't watched it for the first 20 years of my life, but thankfully the 21st came here. The 21st year came around, my bad, and incredible movie.
I would say I'm in the same boat as you. I think it is. I mean, obviously, go ahead and give your take real quick. I'm going to grab something.
I mean, there are very few movies that have been able to keep me on the edge of my seat the entire time. And the entire time you were watching, you just knew it was just incredible. I don't want to get.
Might I say a movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat without action? It is very much no real action set pieces going on. It is very much motivated by those characters. Now, I don't know how much you know about your directors, so I'm sorry if I'm throwing you in the deep end here. But Denis Villeneuve, what are we thinking?
Incredible. First of all,
I would agree.
Not only on the director side, but the actor side as well. Hugh Jackman. Yes. That is my favorite Hugh Jackman movie.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is my favorite Hugh Jackman performance, and I would say my second favorite Jake Gyllenhaal performance, following Nightcrawler. Of course, I don't think he will ever beat that, but it is very good in this. Also, minor characters, but still great performances. Terrence Howard. Haven't seen him in anything in a long time. Was surprised when he was in this immediately. And Viola Davis as well. Stellar performances there. Paul Dano, incredible performance as Alex. I think he kind of hold that movie together. And a slept-on performance would be David Dastmalchian, Bob Taylor, the man with the snakes.
Oh, you're right. I loved Terrence Howard in this movie. I've never seen him pull the role of a father that well. You could feel his emotion just by looking at his face for 2 seconds on screen. They did a great
job. Same with Hugh Jackman. And I think they give great performances, and also they're a great opposite to each other almost, where Hugh Jackman goes too far. Terrence Howard doesn't want to. I thought that was great.
Definitely seeing where the emotion and where that line lies between what you're willing to do versus the law versus your family. It was great. That's as far as I'll go in that for those of you that haven't seen it, but that's got to be on the watch list ASAP if
for sure. Really quickly, spoilers very quick, so maybe turn this down or skip ahead maybe a minute. Thoughts on the ending? I love the ending. I've heard people that don't love the ending because of the mystery to it.
See, when I first watched it, I didn't even think they left it on as much of a cliffhanger as they actually did. When I personally think Loki hears the whistle. Loki knows.
I do too. I would agree.
He knows he's alive, and sure, they shut off the cameras, but I think there's 0% chance that he doesn't go get him out of there. Now, whether or not Mr. Hugh Jackman goes to jail, whatever.
Exactly. There's some ramifications there, obviously. But yes, great movie. I would definitely recommend it to anyone that is even slightly interested in Denis Villeneuve's work or just great performances and a story in general. Quickly jumping over before we get to our next movie, though, Denis Villeneuve, have you seen any other of his movies?
I have not. I don't think.
I would recommend all of his movies. Some standouts would be Enemy. Great Jake Gyllenhaal performance in that. Very same kind of thing. No action. Shorter movie, but I think you'll love it. I'd love to hear what you say about that. Sicario is great. The sequel, not directed by him, so not as great, but I love Sicario. Great Benicio del Toro performance. Arrival is great. I think the ending of Arrival might be his strongest ending. Dune, great movie that came out in 2021, and later this year, Dune Part 2 is coming out. So that is definitely something to put on your watch list if you have not seen it. And my favorite Denis Villeneuve picture by far has got to be Blade Runner 2049. I think everybody's got to see that movie. Even if you don't love the original, this one is so much better, I think, and just Ryan Gosling's performance steals it for me. I love Ryan Gosling as an actor, so that's definitely on there. I would recommend that for anybody. His filmography is great. Let's jump over to our next movie. I'll take this one real quick, and I'm shamelessly going to plug Beau is Afraid. Obviously, there's a review on my channel. If you are interested in hearing what I had to say about that, please check it out. But I think that's a great movie. Everyone should see it. It's in theaters, so we'll brisk away from that. Is there's already a trailer or a review up for you, and we'll go with Training Day. I watched this a couple days ago. Now, have you ever seen Training Day?
I haven't seen Training Day, no.
Training Day is probably my favorite Denzel Washington performance, and Ethan Hawke is great as well in it. It's like a cop crime drama movie. Great performances all around. I would definitely add it to your list of potential movies. In short, I will just say it is Denzel won the Oscar for Best Actor for this, and that's really all I think I need to say. It's just a bunch of stellar performances with a very good story wrapped up in it. So then moving on, if you want to take us to our next.
Does Snoop Dogg make an appearance in that movie?
Snoop Dogg is in Training Day in a wheelchair. He is a great performance. I think Dr. Dre is also. Yes, Dr. Dre is also in the movie.
Yep, he is. I missed that one. They really brought out Hollywood's best for that one.
Oh, we'll get to Hollywood's best later as we touch on a potential movie where we might be interested in. Why don't you give us your second movie that you've seen recently?
Yeah, my second movie I watched about a week ago. It is the new Netflix. Well, I guess it's not that new anymore. All Quiet on the Western Front.
Interesting. Now, I have seen this, obviously, every year. Well, not every year, but since last year, so not very long, I have made it a point to watch every Best Picture nomination, and this was one of the 10. And what did you think about it? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I loved it. I think they did such an incredible job. Just, I mean, obviously with all the actual filming that went into it, the acting is incredible. But I think what they really struck gold with was how they depicted the emotions of the soldiers before, during, and after.
Yes.
Like right in the beginning, everyone was like so excited because they were going to go be heroes on the front line. And even when they got out of the truck the first time and everyone was looking at them just like 1,000-mile stare, and these kids were just still kids.
Oh, yes.
You see a lot of years worth of aging through a couple hours on the screen.
I would agree. Would you be surprised to know the main character, Paul, that is that guy's first acting performance?
I think I saw that somewhere. I looked into
this is his first movie, and I think he kills it.
I don't think it'll be his last.
I don't either. Now, the thing, see, this movie just adds to this thing that I hate, where these foreign movies do not get enough press and buzz in the United States. I think they should be more. This is a great example from Germany of a movie that can be amazing as a foreign film. Parasite, a couple of years ago, Best Picture winner. If you have not seen that movie, get over yourself with subtitles and watch that. That has got to be probably one of my top 5 movies of all time. Parasite is great. Old Boy, another South Korean movie up there, is one of the best. I love this movie. I have read the book. I don't know if you've read the book.
I haven't. No.
Very loosely follows the book. Ending very similar, but not in the same way. If you get what I mean, it isn't as drawn up as Final Seconds as this movie was, but still the very similar ending. Really quickly, since you brought this movie up, let's just run through the Oscars nominations for it and see what you think real quick. Best International Feature Film, clearly it won that one.
Yep.
Nominated for Achievement in Makeup and Hairstyling, it did not win. I'm pretty sure The Whale won for that. That's a great movie as well if you haven't seen that, but I would agree there's some very good makeup in this.
Oh, there has to be. There was so much that went into on those battlegrounds where
yes,
introduced different either bullets, like fire, like a ton of different stuff that you knew took hours to looking for. They did a great job.
Really quickly, we'll run through the nominees and then more discuss the things that won. Best Adapted Screenplay. I didn't think the screenplay was particularly great. There's a lot of it was a good screenplay, but I'm just thinking in the terms of writing, there wasn't a lot of talking. It was more of these shots that kind of set the mood of this is the war that they're in and just the terror of it all. Best picture nomination, I think that was deserved, is very good. Visual effects, I'm a little confused by. There was some interesting CGI that I thought, but still deserved it.
Yeah.
There was some bad fire effects, I will point out in one scene that were not good, but interesting. Best sound nomination, I would agree. Any war movie nowadays pretty much gets that best sound nomination.
Yeah.
Now, this was, besides international feature, that I knew it was going to win, because this was nominated Best Picture and International. There's no way it couldn't win the International Best Picture and be nominated for Best Picture. Music, the score on this film is incredible. That low drunge, dun dun, like every scene that sets up, incredible. I think the score was probably the standout in this for me, as well as cinematography and production design. The other two at one. I mean, this really sets you in that period, and really the shots are these giant landscapes, like when they're going to steal from that farm, of just the sprawling countryside that you can't help but love.
Incredible.
Exactly. Yes,
I would definitely echo your take as far as the score. I'm huge on that. Music can provoke some emotions you didn't really know you were feeling, or you didn't know that were there. And what better place rather than on a battlefield too. Really, I mean, you can change the emotions so fast.
Easily.
I recently saw something that was kind of cool where they took the picture of something that was kind of scary or kind of like thrilling, and they put just some like dumb music over it, and it just totally lost all the effect. And I think with All Quiet on the Western Front, they did such a good job taking what was already just an incredible picture and making it that much better with the music.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. If you're into that, I would definitely recommend checking out some of, I just forgot his name, Edgar Wright's movies. He does a great job of integrating music in his movies. Baby Driver, a clear depiction of that. If you've ever seen that movie.
Yeah, I have.
Very good. Just one last thing to wrap up All Quiet here. A no-named cast besides Daniel Bruhl, who even isn't that big of a star in himself, but just the fact they're able to deliver such good performances, really impressed by that as just a whole of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely a great stepping stone for a lot of these younger actors.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Excited to see where they go next.
Next up, and the final for the movies we've seen, we decided to go with 2 each this week, and then also 2 that we plan on seeing. There Will Be Blood. You ever seen that?
I have not. I know it was on a watch for me, but I have not yet gotten to it.
I'm going to be honest. I've heard the hype of it, and I went into it thinking that I would not be something I like. It's more of a period piece of 1911 oil barons. I kind of love this movie, especially Daniel Day-Lewis's performance. I will also say it's a 2007 film, and kind of going back to Training Day, when I turned that on, that was a 2001 film. I have the remaster in 4K, and that looks like a movie that could have come out yesterday for a movie that's now 21, 22 years old. I opened There Will Be Blood, and I thought this straight up came out in 1970. The film grain on this thing added so much to me of just getting in the mind that this was an old film, which is absolutely incredible. Standout performances, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis winning the Oscar for this movie. Paul Dano, he is coming back from Prisoners. A great performance in here from him, I thought. I absolutely loved his performance. Paul Thomas Anderson makes great movies. I love his movies. And, I mean, without seeing it, I don't want to spoil it. It's a long movie, and it is a slow burn if you haven't seen it. But I would definitely recommend checking out this movie if you get the chance. It is a bit of a ride, especially the ending just sticks with you, and I'm excited for anybody that hasn't seen it to finally see it.
Some good notes there. You want to move on to the 2 movies that are on the next watch list?
Of course. Why don't you take us away with your first one?
So I've got one that I know you just recently watched and I've heard great things about. That is John Wick 4.
I cannot praise. Now, have you seen the first 3?
I've seen the first 2 and then like half of the third one, but then I fell asleep. So I got to go rewatch the third one.
I will say, and I'm not going to spoil this, I'm actually seeing this movie again this weekend. They're bringing it back to IMAX in all theaters. So if you do live near an IMAX, I definitely recommend checking that out. I would say this is the best one, and it's not even close. This takes, in my opinion, the story from 2, because I think before this, I thought 2 had the best story, 3 had the best action. It takes the both of those and mashes them together It's a nonstop thrill ride. And not only that, performance in this, it's got the best performances of any of the movies, and it's got some real stars in this. Keanu, I don't really like his acting, but he plays John Wick very well as a no-named killer. Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King is having an absolute great time performing that. Clancy Brown, Patrick Starr as the Harbinger, small part, loved him. Bill Skarsgård, best villain possible. Hiroyuki Sanada, amazing casting as for him, and Donnie Yen as well. I can't praise Donnie Yen enough. He's slept on. Some smaller those roles though as well. Shamir Anderson, never heard of him, doesn't even have a name in the movie. He's just the tracker. Amazing performance and character. Loved him through the whole thing. When I'm telling you that I haven't felt a sense of suspense or anticipation for the first action scene in this movie, it takes about 30 minutes to get to it. And since I think John Wick 3 came out in 2018, 2019, it's been a 4-year hiatus of waiting for a new John Wick action scene. And I can't tell you enough how much it delivered. I mean, it is an incredible movie from start to finish. It's the best one. I'm excited to see where they take the series next. If you do see this, there is a post-credit scene. You have to sit through the entirety of the credits to see it, but I think it is worth it to kind of see where they're taking this, and I just can't praise this film enough.
Definitely. I'm looking at the cast list right now. Aside from all of the names you just listed, I can't ever see the name Bill Skarsgård without thinking of It. So my first thought was John Wick's going to be fighting a clown, and honestly, I'd watch it just for that. But
I'm going to be honest. I can't see Bill Skarsgård without thinking of the Marquis de la Cremont after seeing this movie. He is so good in it.
Really?
And obviously, we have to mention Lance Reddick, rest in peace, died a week before this movie came out. It was dedicated to him. Felt like his character did well in this movie. Once you see it, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about, where it's very odd where his character goes. But obviously, rest in peace to him. I thought he was a great part of all 4 of these movies. And although he had a small part, great in it. Ian McShane, as well as Winston, definitely highlighted more in this movie. And I enjoyed his performance a lot in that character.
Nice.
Let's go over to one of my movies I'm looking forward to, which is Evil Dead Rise. Now, that is the new Evil Dead movie. Have you seen any of these movies?
I haven't seen any Evil Dead.
Really?
No. I'm so far behind the spectrum on you.
It's all right. It's all right. The thing is with the Evil Dead is very much a cult horror movie. You don't just find that. The first Evil Dead was made by Sam Raimi for like under $10,000. It was just him and his friends in college made it. He's obviously gone on to make bigger stuff like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the new Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which I don't feel are as great, but Evil Dead 1 is a great low-budget horror movie. Evil Dead 2 is like a psychotic trip. And then Evil Dead 3, he's like, let's make it a comedy. Army of Darkness is such an oddball in this entire series, but I still love it. 2013 remake was there. It was a movie that was made, wasn't my favorite, but I haven't heard nothing but good reviews coming from this, and I'm very excited to see this one.
Wow. I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and it's just, you can tell it was made in 1981, which honestly,
the first one. Yeah. Evil Dead Rise. Hopefully we'll be seeing this soon. And what do you have next?
My last want to see is the new Mario Brothers movie.
Interesting.
I don't know how good it'll be, but I feel like it's something that I just need to see. Kind of like the same idea as like Cocaine Bear for me. Like, okay. I'll sit there and be like, well, I mean, this will probably be like a 3 out of 5 for me, but like I'm still gonna see it. So yeah, I think that's got an interesting cast list.
I think
excited to see that.
I don't know if it's an interesting cast list, but not because who is in it. I more think it's an interesting cast list of why did we cast Chris Pratt to be Mario in that sense?
Oh, the whole thing kind of makes, like, Anya Taylor-Joy, I guess, makes sense as Peach, but like all of these names just aren't even closely related with what I would put with these people.
Yeah.
Because they're such popular names, everyone's like, oh my God, Jack Black is Bowser, and he sang this song that's now going viral on TikTok.
Exactly, yes.
The Mario movie.
And I feel like it's so weird because the video game has voice actors. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you just use those?
Yeah.
It's baffling to me that I just don't understand that pick.
I would love.
Also, just looking at it,
Sorry,
I've
go
heard
ahead.
it's okay. It's very much geared towards a kids movie.
Oh yeah.
But three directors, I've never been a fan of multiple directors except very small cases like the Daniels or Coen brothers. I think
Mhm.
they are very well to do it, but I just feel like the more directors you get on, it kind of everyone has their vision, obviously, and I feel like it could get a little foggy about where you're trying to go with that. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, so obviously I'll probably check that out when it comes to streaming. But yeah, it could be interesting. I'd be interested to see where it goes.
Yeah. I'll go see it and I'll let you know
Okay,
how
I
much of a
appreciate that.
priority it should be.
And then last on the list for what we or sorry, that was the last on the list of what we plan on seeing.
Yep.
So let's gear up into the next section. We're going to be talking about upcoming movies. We're heading into summer. Obviously, summer blockbusters you want to see, but we've also put in a couple movies in there that you might not be very aware that are coming out, but should be interested in seeing, I think, based on the cast, directors, who's in it. So first up, we're going to go with Asteroid City here. We're going alphabetical order. It's going to be the new Wes Anderson movie. Now, what is your should I say, opinion or experience with Wes Anderson movies?
So my opinion probably isn't very validated because I have yet to see an entire
Okay.
movie. So I guess that instantly makes my take pretty useless. But I am not on board. I'm not on board with all of the hype that Wes Anderson gets with because of his visuals. Everybody, and now again another TikTok trend or whatever social media it's on, everybody's making little like my day if I lived in a Wes Anderson movie.
Yes.
And they are pretty fun. Now it engulfs my TikTok because now that's all I actually watch. But as much as I enjoy the symmetry, the perfect like in a box, so to speak, at the same time, I don't. But what is good about Wes Anderson is I think because of that style, you can instantly recognize his movie and you're going to know it's a good piece of work. I watched part of the Grand Budapest Hotel and then I had to turn it off, but I'm going to probably finish that right after we finish this podcast. Great so far, but
Yeah.
haven't gotten far enough to appreciate it.
I understand what you're saying about the visual style. I would agree very much. He has a distinct style where you can look at a movie and if it's Wes Anderson, you'll know immediately. But at the same time, I watched Grand Budapest Hotel, with my mother, and she even made the point that she couldn't follow the story because she was so interested in what was going on in the background. I mean, it is incredibly easy to get lost in the background, but at the same time, I think he does a great job of writing. I think all of his movies that I've seen are very well made and interesting. And, just the cast, the amount of people that this man is to bring in, the fact that Asteroid City comes out and on the trailer, it has a list of all the people in it. And the list has so many grade A names that you can't have all those people in the trailer. Edward Norton is in this movie, not in the trailer. Margot Robbie is in this movie, not in the trailer. Jeff Goldblum is in this movie, not in the trailer. I mean, you go down this list and it's a who's who of Hollywood A-listers. And I am extremely excited to see how this movie comes together and what it's going to be about.
I did not know. I didn't scroll this far down in the IMDb because I didn't think they'd be here. William Dafoe, Margot Robbie. I think
Willem Dafoe is in every single Wes Anderson movie. He loves working with Wes Anderson. I love Willem Dafoe's performances in Wes Anderson. Joplin in Grand Budapest Hotel might be one of my favorite characters he's ever done. He's an absolute joy to watch on screen. But for those who haven't seen this trailer, I'm going to run through really quickly the cast and from what I can get from the trailer, what it might be about. So we've got Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Ed Norton, Adrian Brody, Lee Shriver, Steve Park, Maya Hawke, Steve Carell, Matt Dillon, Hong Chow, Willem Dafoe, Margot Robbie, Tony Revolori, and Jeff Goldblum. I mean, that is a star-studded cast, and it's looking to be an alien comes into this city, this asteroid city, and they're being quarantined. And I'm interested to see where it goes, especially with the line in the trailer by Jason Schwartzman where he said he didn't like how the alien looked at him. He looked at him like they were doomed. trying to understand what that might mean for the movie, where that might go. But I can't say how excited I am for that movie to finally come out.
I'm excited to give it a watch as well. And speaking of Margot Robbie, on to our next movie. We've got
this is a sleeper that some people might be taking for granted, but I can't stress enough how excited I am for this movie.
Next up is Barbie, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Barbie and Ken, respectively. What are you excited about exactly for this movie, Robson?
I'm excited to see an amazing Ryan Gosling performance. Also, how dare you exclude the fact that Simu Lee is in this movie, coming off of Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. I think that's going to be an interesting performance. Michael Cera is in this as well, and so is Will Ferrell and Helen Mirren. But I mean, it's so weird that we get a Barbie movie this late after it seems like, and keeping in mind I'm a 22-year-old man, so I'm not keeping up with Barbie every single day, but it seems like we're so far removed from the Barbie scene that we get the Barbie movie now. Also, John Cena's in this movie. I just saw that on the
Didn't know that.
But what intrigues me is it's written by Noah Baumbach, who has made some interesting stories. He wrote Marriage Story, which might be one of my favorite low budget movies. Not even low budget, but just, I mean, I guess low budget with these huge A-list actors like Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver that are able to carry that movie on acting alone. And then you pair him with Greta Gerwig directing, who's directed things like Lady Bird, which got nominated for Best Picture. And it just seems like such a weird combination for the Barbie movie that I'm interested to see where they take it.
I don't know. I watched the trailer. I watched the trailer again, and I still look at this and like, I don't know if I want to see this.
It looks like the comedy in it. It seems like it could land almost, and I just want to see where that could go.
It very well could. I tell you what, you watch Barbie, I'll watch Mario, and
okay,
afterward we'll see where we land.
That would be interesting. I'm very interested. I love what I've seen performance-wise from Ryan Gosling. I think Ryan Gosling is extremely underrated because he was this giant heartthrob, and he's gone on to make great. Have you seen Blade Runner 2049? He kills in that. Drive. He kills in Drive. He's incredible in that movie. Like, he can act, and he's shown that. And I'm interested to see where it goes in the Barbie movie. I can't say I'm not. Getting away from that, definitely to a movie that not a lot of people have known about. Let's jump over to Fool's Paradise. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a TV show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but that is a great comedy TV show to watch. And Charlie Day, who plays Charlie, is making his directorial debut with Fool's Paradise. And the cast alone would have had me interested, but the movie does seem to be something that could be interesting. Now, Charlie Day, if you have not seen this, is going to be playing two roles. He seems to be playing a celebrity movie star, but also a mute person. And they are identical in appearance. And it looks like he's going to be brought in to maybe be a stunt double or a sideman of this main actor. And I'm just kind of excited to see where it goes with Charlie Day not only directing, but writing this movie as well.
Yeah. It'll be a big day in the box office for Mr. Charlie Day.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm excited to give this one a watch. Do you want to give us a rundown of the quick plot, as much as what we would see in the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go straight off the IMDb here. It just says a fool for love becomes an accidental celebrity only to lose it all. I think that alone with one trailer, we haven't seen much, but let me quickly go into the cast list here. Obviously, Charlie Day. We've got also a reuniting of the Horrible Bosses cast here with Jason Sudeikis and Jason Bateman in this movie as well. Love to see that. Adrian Brody, one of my favorite actors as well, making an appearance here. John Malkovich, love that. Dean Norris from Breaking Bad fame, he's going to be in here too. Glenn Howerton from Us Always Sunny in Philadelphia coming. Ken Jeong, a favorite of mine, also going to be there. And can't stress this enough. Ray Liotta is in this movie. I can't confirm, but I think this is his last movie that will be coming out. Unfortunately, he did pass away recently. And I cannot say enough how happy I am that Cocaine Bear was not his last movie. Because you've seen that movie. If you've seen the movie, it's fun. But the way his character is treated in the end, I don't think it's a very satisfying end or a very good end to Ray Liotta's acting career. of what he's been in. But I'm excited to see him in this.
I am too. I'm very excited for this, as well as Ray Liotta. I think Charlie Day. This is going to turn a new leaf for me and him. I mean, just looking from the trailer, it seems like it's very intriguing.
I would agree. I would definitely be checking that one out. Now, I'm going to have to take the reins here because this next movie is my number one anticipated movie of 2023. We haven't even found out all the movies that are coming out this year. And when I saw the trailer to this movie premiere with Top Gun Maverick, I already knew that this was going to be it. We are, of course, talking about the 7th Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, have you seen the Mission Impossibles?
Not all of them. Again, I'm an irresponsible movie watcher, but I've seen enough to understand what it's about, per se.
Okay. Well, we'll have to come on this later, but I've got some ideas of what we could do in the podcast. I'm trying to see if we could time it to where maybe if this is a weekly podcast that we're able to do and you guys are enjoying listening to it, every week leading up to Mission Impossible. So 6 weeks, we will watch each of the movies and do a review on here, culminating in the final movie coming out, or not final because it is part 1 of 2, but culminating in its release this July 14th. Christopher McQuarrie directing, written by Christopher McQuarrie and Bruce Geller. Now, Mission Impossibles, I'm going to go on a little bit of a spiel here just to catch everybody up to speed that is not a huge fan like I am of these. Used to be every movie was directed by a different director. So your first one, Mission Impossible 1, Brian De Palma. Mission Impossible 2, I think it was John Woo, sorry. Mission Impossible 3, we're coming in with J.J. Abrams. 4 is Brad Bird, and then 5 and 6 and this one have all been Christopher McQuarrie. And I think 6 is my favorite, and followed closely by 4 and then 5. So, people that are out there constantly saying that movies get worse as the sequels come out, this series is your, should I say, odd one out, where it seems like everyone is upping not only the stunts, which are all actually performed by Tom Cruise, which I personally think adds a huge aspect to this film, knowing that he's there doing these. But It's just, even when you have these giant set pieces, climbing outside the Burj Khalifa, on the side of a plane, climbing up a rope hanging from a helicopter, the story still is there and it hits. And these characters you love. I mean, Benji Dunn with Simon Pegg playing that, he's been in everyone since 3. Great side character that's just amazing. Ving Rhames obviously going to be in there as Luther Stickle. Ving Rhames and Tom Cruise, fun fact, the only 2 people to appear in every single Mission Impossible movie. Rebecca Ferguson coming back. She's been great in the previous 2. And then we've got some interesting ones coming in here. Henry Czerny as Eugene Kittredge. Has not been in a Mission Impossible since the first one. Excited to see what he's going to be coming back. Haley Atwell as Grace. Looks to be great performance coming from there. Vanessa Kirby returning from the last movie as the White Widow. And we've got new people coming in here. Shea Wiggum, love to see him. Charles Parnell coming off of Top Gun Maverick. Can't wait to see what he brings. Carrie Elways also going to be in this. Amazing. Greg Tarzan Davies also coming over from Top Gun Maverick as well. Followed mainly by Issa Morales, who looks to be our main bad guy in this, and Pom Clementif, who's coming from the Guardians of the Galaxy as Mantis, going to be coming in this. There's only one trailer out, and I can't tell you how excited I am for this next trailer, but off of it alone, I mean, the action that's in this, it just looks like it's going to provide with everything I'm looking forward to.
Agreed. I think it's easy to say because Tom Cruise is the face of Mission Impossible, but if you had to pick one actor to do the job, I mean, nobody makes more sense.
Oh my! I don't think you could. I mean, I think you could argue that nobody cares about movies for an audience as much as Tom Cruise does. Now, I know that he has his own thing in his personal life, and I separate that from what he does because his movies, even if they're not critical acclaimed or masterpieces, you can't watch a Tom Cruise movie and say, and in the last, 10, 15 years where he's really been a big name, and say that was not made for the audience. I mean, Top Gun Maverick, incredible movie, and just everything he does to push to make these movies as real as he can. I love him, and I can't wait to see what he does after these. I mean, he's been stuck in, I wouldn't even say stuck, but just set on this franchise and then he'll do his Top Gun, obviously. But I'm excited to see what he does once he's done with the Mission Impossible, even though it's going to be sad to see them not coming out anymore with him. I'm interested to see where he goes.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be another huge year for Mr. Tom Cruise. Like you said, Top Gun Maverick was incredible. And I know people that, one, they never watched the first one. I know people that had never even watched a Tom Cruise movie, and they watched that movie and they instantly fell right back in love, just like it was Top Gun 1, and everyone's in love with the volleyball scene or the football scene. I think a little off the script, I think that also opens up a huge door for Mr. Miles Teller.
Yes, I would love to see a sequel to Maverick, Top Gun Rooster. I would love to see it. I think Miles Teller is great. I just feel like he's got some great performances. Whiplash is a great movie about drumming. I'm sure you've seen it. He's great in that. It's just unfortunate that he has to play alongside probably the best performance from that year and our J. Jonah Jameson himself. But I would love to see where his career goes. He's definitely got the face for Hollywood.
Definitely. I think between his previous performances and what he did in Maverick, he's got a couple big movies in his future for sure.
Yep, I would agree. All right, and then rounding out our last big upcoming movies for this summer that we'll be talking about today, releasing 1 week after Maverick. Everybody mark down July is a huge month for movies. Also releasing the same day as Barbie, Oppenheimer, the new Christopher Nolan movie. And I can't tell you, this is my number 2. If Mission Impossible is my number 1 and John Wick 4 was my number 3, this is my number 2. I cannot wait for this to come out.
Neither can I. This is my number 1. I might put Mission Impossible 3, 4, maybe 5, but
I can understand that.
This one for sure is my number 1. I've always been so obsessed with the idea of like the Manhattan Project and the history behind all of that. And to see this now, one, through Christopher Nolan's eyes, with a huge cast list here.
Yes. Oh my God. I can't talk.
It's just going to be so.
Go ahead and name them. Go ahead and name them. I've taken the last couple. Just tell us who we've got here.
I mean, we've got Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, going to be incredible, but right followed by that, we got Emily Blunt, we have Matt Damon, we have RDJ, we have just too many incredible names.
Alden Ehrenreich, Josh Hartnett, who's making a big return to the screen. I mean, that guy was in a bunch of movies in the early 2000s, stopped making movies, and then recently with this, and I don't know if you've seen Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, he's in that huge role. Great Guy Ritchie movie. I loved him in that. Mm-hmm. Not only that, Dane DeHaan, who isn't a big actor, but he has good performances. Alex Wolff coming off an incredible performance in Ari Aster's Hereditary. Casey Affleck, who I loved in Oceans 11, 12, and 13. Kenneth Branagh decided he'd show up and give a performance. He's always great. Jack Quaid from The Boys coming in. David Dastmalchian returning from Prisoners decides to hop over. Yep. Just a star-studded cast. I mean, I can't say it enough. Just amazing.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm a big fan of Jack Quaid. Rami Malek, I love. I've been a huge fan of some of his works. I'm just very, very excited. I watched a couple trailers for this, and I think I saw something where Murphy had to lose like 40 pounds to play this role.
Oh my God, he looks ridiculous in this.
Which I love, because the idea behind it was like, we are introducing something that is greater than just what we're like. We have unleashed world-killing science, pretty much, and
it'll be interesting. Yeah,
man, he does. Just out of seeing the couple of minutes of trailers, I think he's already done an incredible job.
Now, obviously, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, obviously, getting into some more technical things. This is going to be in IMAX, and if you do not see this movie in IMAX, you are wasting your money. I mean, Christopher Nolan has said multiple times that he does not care about theaters that cannot provide the best sound, the best mixing, the best pictures for his movies. So if you go and see this in a theater that is not an IMAX or a Dolby Atmos, I cannot guarantee you that it's going to sound good. If you go see Tenet, even on home release, it is hard to hear what these characters are saying because of the mixing. So I would argue you have to see this in IMAX. And if that isn't a reason alone, every time I've seen this in IMAX as a trailer, when I'm going to see other movies, I get goosebumps. Just the sound, the pressure you can feel building in these trailers. It's something incredible. I'm extremely excited to see this.
I am too. I definitely am too. All right,
Definite front runner for some Oscars, I would think.
Oh, definitely. It'll come home with a couple
Listen, last year, I'm tooting my train horn. I was on the Brendan Fraser train to win Best Actor for The Whale. Thank God he did. Great performance. Love to see him back. Cillian Murphy might be my pick for this year, depending on how good this is, for a Best Picture nomination or a Best Actor nomination. At least, I would argue, should be going to him.
Yeah,
obviously, I haven't seen it yet, but just looking at it so far.
There's another actor that people have recently fell in love with because of Peaky Blinders.
Yes,
he's gained a lot of traction. His face is at least recognizable enough to where people will see it and they'll know who he is.
Yeah, I would agree completely. So yeah, I think that is going to have to wrap up the upcoming summer blockbusters. So we're going to get into some news just around Hollywood of what's coming out. Now, first up, this week we're going to be kind of doing a theme on our news, and that is going to be these cinematic universes, obviously looking at Marvel and our DC, maybe dipping into some dark universe stuff just to laugh at it and make fun of it. But we're going to start off with what's currently going on with Marvel. So those of you that don't know, which I don't know how you wouldn't, because it is the biggest movie franchise right now. After Endgame, the consensus is they've been putting out stinkers. Now, I haven't watched any of them except No Way Home since Endgame. But looking at reviews, let's pull up the list real quick.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I've seen a couple of their phase 2 or phase 3, I forgot what they call it, but they're post-Endgame movies.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're still Marvel movies. They're still going to be pretty decent. They might not be the best movies you've ever seen, but the hype has just left so much. I mean,
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you got to think, when Endgame was coming out, there was a literal social media campaign of don't spoil this movie. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't heard anyone talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which comes out in almost less than a week. And I've loved the first 2 Guardians movies. Don't say that I'm a hater of these Marvel movies. Some of the Marvel movies in these phase 1, 2, and 3, I love. I love Iron Man 2 because of mainly the performances by, what's his name? Sam Rockwell. Loved him in that. Phase 1's, decent. I grew up with those movies. I was 8 when the first Iron Man came out, Phase 2, Guardians of the Galaxy stands out. The others, not as much. But then phase 3, loved Guardians 2, loved the new Spider-Man, loved Thor Ragnarok, enjoyed Infinity War, and loved Endgame. I thought it was a great. The problem was Endgame set up such a good end to this 11-year saga.
Exactly. And that's
they gotta milk that cash cow. They couldn't give it up. And what do you get? You get Spider-Man Far From Home. And then that wasn't bad. I like Jake Gyllenhaal in that. But then you start phase 4, and let's just rattle them off. Black Widow was a stinker. Hate to say it, that movie was not good. There's a lot of talk recently about how under the gun these VFX artists are to get these movies made because of all the CGI that goes into these. Another thing that I don't particularly like is, it seems like, Tom Holland's going to run around on a green screen for 2.5 hours. It's interesting, but it's not the most interesting. But you can just tell that Black Widow CGI looked bad. And again, another baffling move to release the Black Widow movie after she's been killed and taken out of that universe. That's an interesting strategy.
I don't think there's a way they can. I mean, it's Marvel; they're going to be fine, but I don't think we'll ever be able to drum up enough hype or enough just excitement because, like you said, I was like 7 when that Iron Man, like I wanted to be Iron Man for like 10 years of my life, and going through and watching each of these people have their own Captain America, own Iron Man, the Hulk, and everyone finally come together for that first Avengers when they were battling in the streets, and then like they want to.
How
about that shawarma joint or like something at the end? Like I remembered everything of that movie, and it all led so beautifully up to Endgame. And in Endgame, like I had
And
goosebumps.
the fact that they're able to take 20 characters and make a coherent story and you're not lost is incredible.
Yeah.
But getting back to this phase 4 releases, Black Widow, in my opinion, is a stinker. Obviously, you can disagree. Shang-Chi was good, but the third act very much falls into that Simu Lee is running around on a green screen problem. Eternals was bad. I think everybody universally agrees that was a bad movie.
Yeah.
And then you get Spider-Man No Way Home, which I loved seeing our Spider-Man come back together. But if you watch that movie now, it's very odd that there's these huge either comedic beats or when the characters like Doc Ock or Toby or Andrew show up, there's just dead air. And that was obviously made for everyone in the theater to celebrate and clap. And everyone did. The theater and I was at, people were getting up and screaming when those people showed up on scene. It was incredible. But you watch it now and it's weird. It's Andrew Garfield for 10 seconds looking around because you're waiting for that audience cheering to go down. And it's odd. I think it's a good movie. I'm excited to see where they go next with it because it's clear that Tom Holland is now the linchpin holding the Marvel Cinematic Universe together.
Yep.
And that's Spider-Man. Followed by Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which I didn't hate, but I just felt didn't live up to the hype of all the things we heard were going to be in it. You know, we heard that Daniel Craig was going to be Thor because when the Thor movie was going to be cast, he was Thor. Tom Cruise was going to be Iron Man because when the Iron Man movie was originally announced, he was going to be Iron Man. And you don't get any of that. You basically don't even get a big multiverse. The multiverse you wind up in is just this guy is important instead of being a side character. And I just feel like it was underwhelming, but not terrible. Then we get Thor Love and Thunder, possibly my biggest disappointment of all the Marvel movies. I mean, with Christian Bale as your villain and he's on screen for 5 minutes. First of all, what are you doing? Second of all, I feel like they've just written the writing that I feel like Thor's an idiot for no reason now. And it just dragged it down for me.
They just tried to make Thor, like, especially post like the fat Thor that we saw in Endgame. Like, I feel like Thor lost so much of his like intimidation factor. He's just there for like comedic relief now. Yeah,
I would agree. And then, listen, I love Russell Crowe. Gladiator's a great movie. What is that accent he's doing as Zeus? I can't figure out what that was, and the fact that that's in the movie. And there's just some baffling shots in there that I don't get. And, you know, it showed in its reviews. I think it's the most divisive movie in the MCU right now of people being like either hate it or love it. They followed that up with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, I didn't see this, but I heard it wasn't as good as the first one, and I didn't particularly enjoy the first one. But being the end of a phase, that was the end of phase 4, and comparing that to what, you know, the ends of the other phases where we had an Avengers movie, I just feel like that's not going to pay off as much as you would hope it would for an end of a phase.
Yeah, definitely.
Then we go, phase 5 started with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I've heard mixed things about it. It introduces the new villain that I've heard, which is going to be Jonathan Majors, who I think is a great actor. Loved him in Creed 3 recently. But he is going to be Kang the Conqueror. Other than that, though, I've heard it wasn't great. Again, it's kind of like Doctor Strange, and it was very just underwhelming. And with this new Guardians coming out, with James Gunn writing and directing, which we will get into James Gunn later when we shoot over to our next topic. But I think he's going to deliver a good movie. But then I don't know how well it's going to follow up. And I definitely think Guardians will be the best of this phase 5 because it's going to have to compete with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Marvel's Captain America New World Order, Thunderbolts, and Blade. I don't know if you've been following the Blade movie, but it sounds like if that movie comes out, it will be a miracle. It sounds like there are nothing but problems happening on that movie right now. But it brings me to my main point that I want to talk about here. And I think it's just that it seems like this universe is ending. And it seems like Disney is trying everything they can to not make it end. And the biggest problem is they don't have a lead. That first 3 phases was Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. Those are your leads. They hold that together. You've got a straight man in Captain America. You've got a goofy, but can be serious and caring Iron Man. Who are you putting your Avengers behind now? It can't be Black Widow. She's dead. Simu Lee as Shang-Chi is great, but I don't see him leading the Avengers. Eternals, if they make another movie about them, I would be shocked. Or if they even show up in another movie, I would be shocked. Tom Holland seems like the go-to, but I
Yeah.
don't think he can carry an Avengers. Benedict Cumberbatch for Doctor Strange seems like the only choice because you can't do Thor now because he's been written to look like an idiot for some reason.
Yep.
Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, would have been a great person to put in there, but now you can't do that. And you've got, again, I haven't seen Black Panther, but from what I've heard, there's like 8 peak characters who could have become the Black Panther, and the one that people didn't want was the one that got it. So now, do you want her to lead it? Ant-Man and the Wasp, you could definitely give it to Paul Rudd. I think he could be your comedic relief, but all of the Ant-Man movies have been smaller stories and have been side, like smaller things. You haven't had him in a huge, like Captain America. He was in that. He didn't lead that movie. You know, he is definitely a smaller part of that. Or the Guardians. But the problem is with the Guardians, they all went out of their contracts from what I've heard. Dave Bautista said he's done. Bradley Cooper said he's done. So what do you do with them?
Yeah. So
I think they're in an interesting spot.
I definitely echo where the lead's going to come from, because they've effectively made every single character they have alive a comedic relief. You can't have Thor. You can't have Thor, Spider-Man, Ant-Man. Like, all of them are meant to be the funny people. The only serious one you've got left is Doctor Strange. But even then, I think the Marvel ticker is just losing its value. The stock is going to be going down, and I don't really know if there's going to be something to get it back up, but we'll see. I guess.
Hope. Listen, if you love the Marvel movies, I have nothing against you, but I do hope it comes to an end. I think these cinematic universes have been great. Should have ended after Endgame. That would have been perfect, but I'm so tired of the monopoly that they have on theaters. Now, I'm from I wouldn't say a small, like tiny town, but we only have one movie theater. It's relatively small. And because it's Disney and because it's Marvel, when a Marvel movie comes out, every theater is showing that. And you can say, oh, well, why does the studio stand up and say, we're not going to show Thor Love and Thunder in 7 of our 8 theaters 24 hours a day? Well, because then when the next one comes out, they won't let them show the movies at all. And that's a huge money problem for them if they can't show those. So you have to drive to a more far out theater. I feel if these could end, you could get some of your smaller movies like The Whale in the smaller theaters, or just, movies that normally people wouldn't see because it's just dominated by this. You can finally see some of those showing up in the smaller theaters.
Definitely. I definitely agree. Speaking of huge universes, we'll transition over into the DC universe.
Yes, the ugly stepchild of Marvel.
Exactly. Fill us in a little bit about how that Flash situation is going to be currently going down.
I will. So, for those of you that don't know, DC has tried their hardest to copy Marvel in every single way and has ultimately failed on every single front. They started off with saying, hey, let's give our entire universe to one guy. And that guy's name was Zack Snyder. And he did 3 movies. And he got to the Avengers level movie in, I think, 3 years and 3 movies, when it took Marvel like 8 years to build up to that and establish these characters. And they've always just been lackluster. Now, we're getting into an interesting part here because James Gunn made The Suicide Squad, which by all accounts is the best DC movie right now by far. Great comedic thing. And if you'll notice, or if you remember, James Gunn is doing the Guardians movies. So if he is coming over to now be the head of the DC universe, no more Guardians movies. At least not with James Gunn, which is going to be hard to replicate when he's done those first 3 movies so well. But what we're trying to figure out here now is the new Flash movie is coming out, and it has been stated that will reset the universe. Just like Marvel, they're doing a multiverse thing where Flash is going to do a Flashpoint story where it kind of resets the universe. They do this in the comic books with the New 52. That Flash usually does a Flashpoint story where he goes so fast he rewinds time and creates a new universe. This allows you to create an entirely new branch where you can get rid of the old and bring in the new. Now, they've stated this is going to do that. So we know now that most of the characters from these previous DC movies, your Shazams, your Flash, your Ben Affleck's Batman, your Henry Cavill's Superman, they're gone after this movie. They've stated that very clearly that they're going to restart. So my question is, why would they do that? Because now going into this movie, this is the end. Why are you going to care about these characters? Like they had made it clear this is where their stories end.
Yeah, I think this is just DC's last hope at just hard resetting. And I mean, if they've always followed Marvel's footprints in the past, they probably don't want to do it now if Marvel's going to decline. So maybe they're going to try and pave their own path, but we'll see where that gets them. I have never been a huge DC fan. I don't see that necessarily changing hugely after this Flash movie, but we'll see, I guess.
There's two big things that I think of right now, just thinking about this universe, and it's they've come out and said that, so this Flash movie got stuck in development hell from COVID. So this movie has been ready to go, but they just couldn't release it.
Yep.
And it's gone through apparently a lot of reshoots and rewrites and fixing the story. And they've now come out and said that it was, why release this movie when you're going to restart the universe? Well, they've come out and said that this movie is so good, you couldn't release it. But there's 2 trailers out now, and I'm not getting the sense that this movie was so good, you couldn't release it. I'm getting the sense that this is we put so much money in this, we can't not release it in hopes of making anything back.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's an odd situation to be in, I'm sure, but I don't even know if I'm going to go see it. I'll probably just hear of what happened through reviews and such. But the other thing that I just want to say is that DC struck gold when they got Christopher Nolan to make the Dark Knight trilogy. And
Agreed.
ever since then, they have been trying to chase that dragon of how good those movies are. And they just haven't been able to really hit that, in my opinion. And, I don't wish any ill on any of these studios. I don't wish that any of their movies flop or underperform, but I think it's just like we said with Marvel. You kind of have to realize when you're done or you're not, in this case, you're not succeeding and not performing. And I think you just got to move on. I mean, there's obviously other stories out there to make. And I think the comic book cinematic universes are coming to an end. And I think it's an interesting time for movies in general. And I think it's interesting to see where it will go next.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Marvel and DC have been so played out at this point that, I mean, we grew up with those. We there when those action figures were the coolest thing at the Walmart checkout aisle. But I think that's probably coming to an end relatively soon. But with those coming to an end, it also opens up the door for some more relevant things to step in. So I'm excited to see where we
I think it'd be interesting to see some of these movies that, stars that have been made from these movies that got their start in this and have come out now. I want to see where they go next. They've come up on these movies, and now I want to see where their acting can really take them and where they can really go.
Yeah, definitely. Be awfully weird seeing Tom Holland in something like Strangers, but I wouldn't be upset.
I would agree. That would be odd, but you never know. And now going into our last segment of the day, guys, we're going to be doing a random movie generator. So what we're going to do is I've entered all the movies that I own or plan on seeing into a random generator. We are going to spin that wheel. Whatever movie we get, we are going to both watch that. And then at the start of the next episode of This Week in Hollywood, we will do a review of that movie, probably about 10, 15, 20 minutes, just talking what we thought about it. So for the inaugural episode, let's get into this and see what we get on the wheel as it spins here. And we are going to land on The Departed, Martin Scorsese movie. Interesting.
Wow.
Have you ever seen it?
I haven't, no, but I'm a big fan of Scorsese's.
So let's just really quickly, we'll give an overview so that way we can, if people do want to see it and watch it ahead of time and then come back for our review of it. Let's see. So The Departed, released 2006, directed by Martin Scorsese and led by Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, and Mark Wahlberg.
That's a cast list if I've ever seen one.
I'm not going to lie. This is my favorite Martin Scorsese movie. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So I'm definitely going to take some notes this time, and I'm interested to see what you think about it when we get back to you next week. Hopefully enjoy it. So that's going to do it for this episode of This Week in Hollywood, guys. I really appreciate you guys tuning in for the inaugural episode. I promise it's only going to get better from here. If you do like what you're seeing, please drop a like and a comment below to add to any discussion we've had. Feel free to subscribe. I'd love to thank my co-host for the day with Eli for coming on. Appreciate you, man. Helping me out here.
Happy to be here, happy to learn about some more movies, and excited to watch. What was it? The Departed. There it
The
is.
Departed.
Yeah. Departed.
And maybe next week we will have a special guest. I'll have to see what I can do. But until then, we will see you next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good one.